Welcome back to GMS Podcast. This is episode 2 of our Steel and Ship Recycling series. In episode 1, we discussed why steel prices sit at the heart of recycling offers. Today, let us look at the regional spread. Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and Turkey may all be steel driven recycling destinations, but they convert steel value into bids very differently. The difference is often currency, banking, liquidity, yard appetite, compliance capacity, and buyer confidence. Jamie, owners often compare numbers across destinations and ask why one market is ahead of another. What is the short answer?
The short answer is that each destination has its own economics. Steel is the common driver, but every country has a different domestic steel market, currency environment, banking system, yard profile, compliance position, and appetite for risk. So the same vessel can produce different bids in different destinations, even when everyone is looking at the same broad steel trend.
Let us start with Bangladesh. Chattergram has often been at the upper end of the price table, especially for larger LDT units. From a commercial perspective, what supports Bangladesh?
Bangladesh is highly sensitive to domestic steel demand and banking support. When local steel demand is strong and letters of credit are moving, chattergram buyers can become very competitive. For larger vessels, especially bulkers and tankers, Bangladesh can be a very strong destination because yards are comfortable with size and volume when confidence is present. The current point is that Bangladesh continues to show one of the stronger demand positions in the region. The LC pipeline has been workable, the currency has remained relatively controlled, and buyers still have appetite. But the practical constraint is not only finance, it is also seasonality and supply. The monsoon reduces beaching capacity, and if the ships do not arrive inside the right delivery window, even a supportive market can become difficult to execute.
That is important because Bangladesh can show strong appetite, but execution still depends on timing, banking, and whether the vessel can physically reach the market at the right moment.
Exactly. A buyer may like the ship and like the steel market, but if the delivery window is difficult or if weather and beaching cycles are against the transaction, that interest may not become an immediate deal. So for Bangladesh, we watch steel prices, LC availability, local liquidity, currency stability, the confidence of downstream steel buyers, and the beaching calendar. The market can have demand and financing, but if the ships do not arrive within the practical delivery window, that opportunity can become seasonal rather than immediate.
Let us move to Pakistan market. Pakistan can sometimes surprise the market when Gadani buyers become aggressive. In recent periods, Pakistan's position has shown how quickly regional dynamics can change. What factors usually supports Gadani?
Pakistan is a very good example of how quickly the regional picture can change. When local steel pricing is firm and the rupee is stable, Gadani buyers can become very competitive. Currency matters a lot here because the vessel is bought in US dollars, but the recovered steel is sold in local currency. If the local currency holds well, the buyer's dollar equivalent buying power improves. That can support stronger bids.
So Pakistan's strength is not just steel. It is steel plus currency.
Correct. Steel pricing gives the base. Currency decides how that local steel value translates into a dollar bid. When firm local steel pricing is combined with a stable rupee, Gadani buyers can compete strongly. We have seen that recently with Gadani remaining firm and the rupee giving buyers more confidence. But there is also a point owners should understand. Some of Pakistan's recent advantage has been linked to regional dynamics and Gulf proximity. If the wider regional risk premium continues to ease, that advantage may reduce. So Pakistan can be very competitive, but the reason for that competitiveness matters.
And Pakistan's buyer base is not as broad as India's. That matters when owners are assessing execution.
That is right. Pakistan can be competitive, but the depth of active buyers and financing support still matters. If only a few serious buyers are active, pricing can be strong but selective. We also need to watch HKC progress. As more compliant capacity develops, Pakistan's ability to attract certain types of tonnage can improve. So the summary is this. Pakistan can be strong when steel and currency align, but execution still depends on buyer depth, finance, compliance, regional sentiment, and vessel suitability.
Now, India. Along is often the deepest and most diversified recycling market, but not always the highest priced. Why does that happen?
India has major structural strengths. It has broad yard capacity, a mature resale ecosystem, strong non-ferrous and machinery markets, specialist buyers, and significant HKC compliant infrastructure. But the final bid still depends on domestic steel prices and the rupee. If Indian steel plate prices are lower than Bangladesh or Pakistan, or if the rupee weakens, India may not match the highest South Asian levels. At the moment, India remains a very strong execution market, but it has been sitting behind Bangladesh and Pakistan on headline price. Local plate levels have softened, which makes it harder for Alang to lead on pure LDT pricing.
So, India's advantage is not always the top number. Sometimes it is execution depth, compliance capacity, and flexibility.
Exactly. India can be especially attractive for HKC focused owners, specialist tonnage, offshore units, smaller vessels, or ships with valuable equipment and non ferrous content. For mainstream large LDT tonnage, if Bangladesh or Pakistan has stronger steel economics, India may sit below them on price. But India remains extremely important because of its depth, reliability, compliance footprint, and ability to handle a wider range of vessels. That is why owners should not judge India only by the headline price. For the right vessel and for the right compliance requirement, Alang can still be the best risk-adjusted solution.
Turkey is different again. Aliaga usually does not compete with South Asia on headline price, but it remains an important recycling destination. How should owners understand Turkey in a steel context?
Turkey is linked to its own domestic steel and scrap market, the Turkish lira, and regional demand. But it is also heavily influenced by geography, regulation, and owner requirements. For many vessels, particularly those connected to European owners or EU regulatory considerations, Turkey may be considered because of proximity and compliance pathways, even if the price is lower than South Asia.
So, Turkey should not simply be described as a lower priced version of the same market.
Correct. Turkey is a different market serving a different requirement. For some owners, Turkey is commercially acceptable because the regulatory, logistical, and reputational framework fits their needs. But for mainstream tonnage seeking the highest price, Aliaga is usually structurally behind the subcontinent. That remains the case today. Turkey's relevance is strongest where regulation, geography, or EU linked compliance considerations override the headline price gap.
Now, let us step back and analyze. If all destinations are looking at steel, what are the main reasons their prices diverge?
I would highlight six. First, local steel price levels. Each country has its own domestic steel market. Second, currency movement. Ships are bought in dollars, but steel is sold locally. Third, banking and LC support. Without finance, demand cannot become an executable bid. Fourth, yard capacity and appetite. If yards are full, cautious, affected by weather, or waiting, prices soften. Fifth, compliance capacity and cost. HKC and other compliance requirements affect both access and pricing. Sixth, downstream confidence. If mills and traders are active, recyclers bid more strongly. If they are waiting, yards become defensive.
And I would add one more: timing. A destination may look strong on paper, but if holidays, tides, monsoon, or delivery windows interfere, execution becomes difficult.
Absolutely. Timing can override everything. A market can look strong on paper, but if the beaching window is closing, holidays are approaching, or monsoon is setting in, execution becomes more difficult. That is especially relevant now because the market may be improving in sentiment just as the physical beaching calendar becomes harder. There are times when the market has demand and finance, but supply still does not arrive in time.
This is where I want to challenge a common phrase. People often ask, which is the best recycling market today? But in our experience, that question is too simple.
It is too simple. The better question is best for which vessel? Under which delivery terms? With which compliance requirements? And with what execution risk? Bangladesh may be best for one large unit. Pakistan may be very competitive when steel and currency align. India may be better for an HKC-sensitive owner or a specialist vessel. Turkey may be right for a vessel with European regulatory considerations.
So, destination selection is not only about the highest number, it is about the best risk adjusted outcome.
Exactly. The highest headline price is not always the best deal if the execution risk is higher. Owners should look at price, buyer quality, finance, delivery terms, compliance, seasonality, and timing together.
Let us bring this into the practical market view. At different points in the cycle, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and Turkey can each behave differently. Bangladesh may lead when demand LC support and beaching windows align. Pakistan can become highly competitive when steel and currency support Gadani, although regional sentiment can change that advantage quickly. India often offers depth, compliance, and flexibility, even when it is not the highest price destination. Turkey remains a distinct market for owners with regulatory or geographical considerations.
That is the key point. The regional markets should not be judged only by one headline price. Demand, finance, compliance, currency, buyer quality, and timing all matter. So when owners look at regional pricing, they should not only ask who is paying the most, they should ask who can perform in what time frame and does my vessel actually fit that market.
The key takeaway from episode 2 is that steel drives all recycling markets, but it does not affect every destination equally. Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and Turkey each convert steel value into recycling bids through their own currency, finance, liquidity, yard capacity, compliance, sentiment, and timing filters. The right destination is not always the one with the highest headline number. It is the one that gives the best risk adjusted outcome for that specific vessel. In episode 3, we will discuss why recycling offers can change within days and what ship owners should watch before deciding whether to recycle now or wait. Jamie, thank you for joining us again. We all are looking forward to continue this discussion with you next week.
Thank you, Naeem.